I'm keeping the $250,000 inheritance for myself. My sister's adopted, so it doesn't count. Am I the a-hole?
Fire your family, make money, hire a new one.
I, 30 male, lost my mom when I was 5. Despite being so young, I had a very vivid and treasured memory of my mom, and I did not take my dad dating a year after her death well. My dad recognized that he knew this would be hard for me, but said that as the parent/adult, he knew what was best even if it didn't seem that way at first, and that I would thank him in the long run.
Yeah, you'll totally thank me for boning this other lady that's not your dead mom.
Not long after that, he married my stepmom, Lucy.
Oh, disgusting.
And when I began to act out over it, my dad said that parenting alone was hard and that my sister, Jessica, 28 female, needed a mom. My dad even got my maternal grandparents to tell me that everything would be fine and how I needed to be a good boy.
I actually think it's the right approach.
It's almost like, do this because I told you so.
What explanation does he need? Like, hello, son, your father is a man.
That was enough to get me to behave during the wedding, but once Lucy moved in and started redecorating, I started acting out again. My dad had had enough and just started punishing me whenever I acted out or made Lucy upset, as well as used the Jessica isn't acting out like this. And to be honest, Jessica was easily pleased and wasn't alive long enough to have the same attachment to our mom as I did. It really upset me when Jessica started calling Lucy mom, and it really ticked me off when Lucy started referring to me as her son. I always corrected it when she tried that around me.
Well, this is just the classic, like, you're not my mom,
Yeah.
you'll never be my mom, my mom is my mom thing.
That's true.
It's a trope.
It got worse when I was 8 and Lucy had her own kids, because then my dad and her started pushing for adoption. Jessica obviously had no problems with it, but I refused. Now it gets worse.
I love when it gets worse. I love it so much.
My dad had my maternal grandparents come in again and tell me that adoption wouldn't be that bad, but I still refused. Lucy and my dad pushed for the adoption anyway, but thankfully the judge listened to me and to my feelings in a private room and denied it. I did not know that was a thing.
What a fucking brat. Dude, some of the biggest dicks in my life were children.
After that, therapy started, but it didn't last, so they also tried the, since you don't want to be a part of this family, you don't get X or you can't come do Y.
You deserve it.
But I was too stubborn for that method to work on me. The only one who I felt was on my side was my paternal aunt, who kept sticking up for me whenever she'd see what Lucy and my dad were trying to do. So when I turned 18, I went straight to her.
Kid still seems bitter, but like all these things are very normal. There's nothing that Lucy or his dad did that I'm like, oh, that's like a dick move.
It was when I became a legal adult that my maternal grandparents confessed that they were never okay with the situation, but my dad threatened to keep me and my sister away from them if they didn't show support. That is not cool.
Why weren't they okay with it?
I was furious, so furious that I had my surname legally changed to my mom's maiden name, as I wanted nothing to do with my dad and only ever really talked to my paternal aunt.
Wow.
Fast forward to now, and my grandma has passed away. Grandpa died in 2020, and according to their will, only their legal grandchildren is to split the $250,000 inheritance.
Well,
And since Jess is legally Lucy's daughter, all she got was a framed photo of my mom and a letter. Jessica doesn't think it's fair and thinks that I should share the money, but I told her to get money from her legal grandparents. Hey, you know those brand new grandparents you got? Get some money from them.
Clappity clap back.
My aunt thinks I'm being a bit harsh, so am I the a-hole? Okay, there are some updates, but wow. I mean,
And I kind of had a flip-flop when I realized that they were trying to legally
adopt him specifically, not just add new children to the family. Yeah.
But I think that's a normal thing. Again, that's a normal thing to do. All right, well, let's dive into the next part.
It had been 2 years since the last time my sister Jessica had spoken to either of my grandparents, while she frequently called and interacted with Lucy's parents. Jessica was never close to my mom's side of the family because she'd rather spend time with Lucy's family and or didn't want to hurt their feelings. When Lucy moved in, she and my dad took down all of my mom's pictures and got rid of her things. I was not allowed to keep any of the pictures in my room.
Oh, that's fucked.
And I would catch heat if I tried to celebrate my mom's birthday, mourn on the anniversary of her death, and get punished if I didn't celebrate Mother's Day the way Lucy wanted me to.
Okay,
That's, I feel like, the context that we were looking for.
I'm starting to see why this is so fucked.
So yeah, she wasn't the saint of a woman who stepped in when my mom couldn't be there for me. And because I keep seeing the same questions, one, I don't blame Jessica for choosing to be adopted now. I'm angry at her belief that she should get any money from my grandparents despite never showing any interest in having a relationship with them once she was 18 plus. They reached out numerous times, but she never bothered, yet has the belief that she's entitled to their money. That's what ticked me off. Two, my mom has a sister who also has kids. I'm not getting the full $250K. And three, no, I didn't expect anyone from Lucy's side to leave me anything, nor would I demand Jessica to share. It would be completely hypocritical. And final small update, my maternal cousins and I had a meeting and we all agree that since Jessica couldn't be bothered to speak or spend time with our grandparents once she was an adult, she didn't deserve any of the money. We had our grandma's estate lawyer send out an official letter to Jessica. She said that she would challenge the will, and I told her that she's welcome to do so. I am fully prepared to never see or speak to her ever again over this. Wow, man, that is...
I mean... It seems like the context we got at the end is that OP's dad and the stepmom are trying to erase OP's mom.
Yes.
And like all of these normal things that do happen when a parent dies and the other parent moves on, there's this undercurrent of I'm trying to replace your mom that, you know, I think in a lot of these situations is true to an extent.
Because you kind of have to, in a way, it's like, oh, I do want to be
need to move on.
Your mom,
yeah, you have to,
right?
Yeah. And so,
but
like,
there's like a right and wrong way.
Yeah, and it seems like in certain ways, OP's parent and step-parent handled it poorly.
But I would love to hear your step-parent stories, specifically your stepmom stories. We always get the crazy stepmom stories. Stepmom stories.
Or if have you been in a situation like this one?
That is true.
Where, you know, a parent has died and you've gotten a new parent. You know, because you know this happens in divorce all the time.
100%.
But have you had this exact situation happen to you? We would love to know your stories in the comments below. But I think we would also love to get into this next story.
Let's get it.
My sister is ruining her life by having too many kids, and I just couldn't keep my mouth shut.
Am I the a-hole?
So, okay, here's the thing, right? If we're talking 2 to 3, hey, overstepping your boundaries. But if we're talking about 22 to 23.
That's a village. My 21 female sister, 32 female, has been married to her husband, 33 male, for 8 years. They already have 6 kids total. The last one was born 5 months ago. So 6 kids, 8 years. Pumping them out.
I mean, that's a lot.
Yesterday, my sister had announced that she's 3 months pregnant with twins. And while everyone was congratulating her, I said out loud, "Oh my God, again, can't your stupid husband leave you alone?"
You got away with words over there.
I didn't mean to say it out loud, but it slipped out. Does that slip out?
I don't think that's
a lot to slip out. That's a lot to slip out.
Yeah.
And my sister looked at me angrily and literally dragged me into another room and asked, "Why the f did you say that?" Which that is a
reasonable
and also respectful response.
If OP said again, that's slipping out.
Yeah.
But not that whole thing.
Yeah, it's a long sentence to slip out. I told her that she and her husband have been pregnant every year for the last 8 years and that she needs to take a break.
Let's make it a full decade, baby. Round it out.
I was worried about her having so many babies in such a short time, and I didn't want anything bad happening to her. She then said, "How about you leave us alone and worry about you? Oh, this is my life. So fuck off.
If you want to have 100 kids,
it's your prerogative." My mother told me that I should apologize for being rude, but I told her that I won't apologize for showing concern. But now I just can't help thinking that maybe I was being an asshole and sticking my nose into other people's business. I was just worried, but maybe I was being a jerk. Am I the asshole? There is an update. John, what is your decree?
Yeah, I think that's being in that. Again, like if she literally just said again, I was like, oh, I said that out loud. I could totally be like, all right, you slipped up there. And also it's another thing to like sit down with her and be like, maybe this isn't my place and maybe I'm overstepping my bounds. There is a way to approach it, which could still be maybe too much, but like saying it that way is it's just not the move.
Yeah, it's not the move. OP 100%. But let's see if this update does you any justice. So, edit. Yes, I do babysit my sister's kids sometimes, and all 6 of them at the same time whenever they need me and I'm available. They pay me $30 to $50 an hour, but their kids are pretty destructive and they don't respect other adults like they're supposed to. So it's a full chore watching after them. But $30 to $50 an hour, that's pretty good.
Not bad.
I'm aware that the stupid husband comment was inappropriate, but I have almost no filter and my stupid mouth says before my brain can stop it. And I've seen comments talk about the ages, assuming my sister is 21. I'm 21 female, my sister's 32 female, and her husband is 33 male. And here's the update. I apologize to my sister for insulting her husband and making that rude comment, but I told her that I'm still worried about her having so many kids back to back to back and just concerned in general about her health and well-being. She actually forgave me and said it's because 1, I'm her youngest sister. 2, she knows about my problem with keeping my thoughts to myself and that I'm working on myself. And 3, she knows that I am concerned for her and she appreciates it, but she assured me that she's fine and that this pregnancy wasn't planned and her husband plans on getting a vasectomy because they both want this pregnancy to be the last. For those asking in the comments, she and her husband can afford to have kids. He runs a very successful business and she is still co-partner with her best friend in a company that they both started before she got married. How she manages to juggle being a full-time mom and work here and there is beyond me, but she does. That's why I babysit sometimes when the nanny isn't available 24/7. Her husband was the one who initially wanted a big family, and my sister just went along with the idea, but that's their business.
Wow. So I would say I am not anywhere near educated enough on reproductive health. Is that actually
Worrisome? I don't know. My dad's one of 10. My grandma was popping them out every year for a decade, and she is currently 91.
sturdy, standing the test of time?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it could help you live to 91.
We have evidence.
We have evidence.
This is pure science.
Pure science.
Yeah.
You know, the average, I went to Amish country recently. The average family size in Amish country is 8.2 kids. The Amish population is the fastest growing religious population in America.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating.
That's how you build a freaking empire, dude.
Why not? Go for it.
But let's go for this next story. Also, how many kids is too many? Put your answers in the comments. What's your number? How many kids do you want? And when would you start, just like throwing them in the lake or the river?
Let us know. My grandson sucks, and I'd rather scuba dive than see him. Am I the a-hole?
Yeah, I'd rather be 3,000 feet at the bottom of the ocean than have to deal with your sorry sack of shit.
I, male 27, have a son, Jake, male 26, who has his own son, Mike, 5. Jake's mother and I only had a short-term relationship, and it was an accidental pregnancy. To be blunt, I never wanted to be a parent. Yikes. Particularly not at 21. However, Jake's mother did, and it wasn't my decision.
Man.
Tell us how you really
I hope
feel.
that kid never reads this story.
Although we have always kept peace, things have always been icy between us due to that. However, I've always tried to do right by Jake. I would have him every other weekend for a month during the summer. I would do my best to deliver on anything he asked of me, treated him kindly, and tried to be a good father. See, when you say I tried to be a good father, it just feels like you're not.
Man, well, the thing is, man never wanted to be a father,
Yeah.
and he's trying his best to be one. That's all you can ask.
Then at a certain point, his mother married a guy Jake hated, and I had him move in with me once he was 13. I won't lie. I wasn't cut out to be a parent. I need to bun up over here.
You get an itchy forehead?
I love Jake, but I just hated parenting. I did it anyway since he was my son. We have a very good relationship, and I've never shirked any responsibility to him. Jake also became a father at 21. However, he was all for it and happily married to Mike's mother.
Mike is the kid.
Right. I was like, wait, hold on. Whose mom? I also got him into my electrician's union and had him set up on some good jobs. So he was on a much, much better footing than I was for a child. Back then, we had a long talk and I told him, Jake, being a parent is a very, very different life. It's hard, exhausting, and on a day-to-day basis, you don't really get to do much of what you want to do.
And I hate it.
And I hate it. It will be a very long time before you don't have that kind of responsibility anymore. Basically, parenting you sucked balls.
I mean, he's right to an extent. Like, parenting is a difficult endeavor.
You will, like what he
But
said
your
at
life
the
will
end,
change.
you won't have that kind of freedom for a long
while.
time.
Yeah.
Then the conversation turned to how I would help him parent. I told him, No,
My parenting is done, sir.
I have clocked out. I am retired from parenting. I am turning back to my own life. He has his own home, union job, is engaged, and adult enough to decide to have a baby. And literally the exact same age that OP was. He can't even be like, oh man, like, you were so much for. No, you were literally in the exact same place in life I was. He's the adult now. He's the parent. I'll be around, and if there's any emergencies, obviously I'll do what I can, but I won't be called an active grandparent. I've largely held to it. I have been doing a lot of travel. I have a girlfriend, hobbies, and to be blunt, I'm doing all the things I didn't get to do in my 20s. Do I see Jake and his family? Yes. However, I rarely agree to babysit. Jake resents that I don't go to Mike's games. They tend to conflict with my weightlifting club.
He's just getting jacked and like has like a girlfriend traveling the world.
Yeah, sorry, buddy, but old grandpa's got to pump the iron to pump old grandma, if you know what I mean. And is just generally angry that I'm pretty hands-off with Mike. Things came to a head last week when Mike had a baseball tournament, and I refused to go because I had plans to take a scuba class with my girlfriend, which admittedly could have been rescheduled. I didn't tell Jake this, but I spent so many Saturdays bored out of my skull watching Little League when Jake was little. I always cheered loudly, was crazy supportive, and never let on that it was like watching paint dry.
Damn, man really didn't want to be a dad.
But this is no longer my responsibility. So I told him, Jake, I've done 20 years of parenting. That's enough. He then yelled at me that I'm always going and jetting around, playing like a teenager and not putting him first. I told him no, that I wasn't. I did that for 20 years to get him on his feet as an adult. I've done that, and now I can go back to prioritizing my own life. So,
is he the a-hole?
Is he the a-hole?
Oh man, this is a tricky one.
Yeah.
Because like how he describes all of this shit is very asshole-ish. But like logically, like I feel like he's done everything right, and he's just being very honest about how he's felt about doing everything that he's done.
And in his defense and in fairness, we have read so many stories about, new young parents where they are literally like trying to make the grandparents basically be the parents to them, like literally sending them to there all day, every day. And they're like, getting older, all this stuff. So that could happen, I guess.
I think if you decide to have a child, it's your responsibility. Yes, often grandparents, your parents do help. Like I know my parents want to be active when I have kids. Me having a child isn't completely dependent on my parents being able to help.
He put in 20 years.
Man did his time.
He did his time.
And hated it.
I think he's not the a-hole in his actions and boundary setting, but just his way with words. He just paints himself as that.
Yeah. He's just being very honest emotionally.
I think he's setting a reasonable boundary.
Yeah. I want to know what your thoughts are. And also, like, is there any moral responsibility on parenting for grandparents? I want to know what your thoughts are. Put your answers in the comments. How involved were your grandparents when you were growing up? Well, we'll see you in the next one.